You're listening to the Craig Proctor Real Estate Show. Each week, I'm going to be interviewing top realtors from coast to coast to give you a backstage pass on how they've created their amazing real estate empires and how you can copy them. Hi, everyone. This is real estate coach Craig Proctor, and welcome to the Craig Proctor Real Estate Show. Today, my special guest is Mike Szakos. He is in Nashville, Tennessee right now as we speak, but he also has an office in Ventura County, California. Mike, welcome to the Craig Proctor Show.
Thank you so much for having me, Craig. I appreciate it.
A little background, Mike, on how you and I first got together, how we met, and what's been going on in your business.
Sure. So October 2011, I attended one of your live events in Anaheim, California. Loved what you had to say about the business. At that point, I'd been in the real estate industry for 7 years. I was kind of just drifting through being a real estate agent, didn't really have much direction. I liked kind of your take on the real estate market, also how to approach buyers, sellers, investors, everyone. It was very different from all the training I was getting and all the opinions I was receiving from other people. Obviously saw your track record, saw you helping other people be very successful in real estate, so got very interested and have been part of the Craig Proctor family ever since.
And it's been a great run, Mike. You've had awesome success. When you first started working with me, your office was only in California, and then you made the move to Nashville, and you have both offices thriving today. Tell us what was behind that.
Yeah, sure. So I'll even go one step farther back. So when I first met you in October 2011, the market was kind of going through, obviously, the post crash that happened in 2008, 2009. Buyers were very hesitant. And I was basically, my business comprised of 90% working with investors. Some buy and hold rental stuff, mostly fix and flippers. That was great. But it's kind of like having an REO account where they can call the shots. If they know that they are controlling 90% of your business, you're kind of at their mercy. They're going to dictate how you're going to run your business. And I wanted out of that business model. I wanted to get more free time, and I wanted to work with buyers, sellers. Again, I didn't want any one individual to be able to control my business. So within just a couple of years, I went from 90% heavy investor to working with buyers and sellers. There was no one source. It was only about 5% left of working with investors. Actually sold more homes, made more money, kept more in my pocket, had more free time. And, that was just made me a lifer with the system because, that's what I was looking for. I had 4 kids. I'm married. I don't want to sacrifice my personal life for this business, right? I want to have a balance. I want to be able to have both. And you showed me an out, which was great. So that kind of really started my journey with you, just to get rid of those investors who are controlling everything and just concentrate on working with gold buyers and sellers and having control over my business, because it's my business, and me being able to dictate what I want to do, how much I'm going to charge, all that stuff.
Okay, well, what you just said is obviously something that should be the most important thing that all real estate agents are thinking about. But we get busy doing what we're doing, and we realize that we've built something that we don't want. And yes. So what I hear you saying is you took a look at your personal life and your personal time that you wanted to spend with your family, and you re-examined your business, and you decided that the clientele investors was not really going to get you what you wanted, and that you wanted to structure this more or less so it was a business and not an all-consuming job that actually eliminated any freedom in your life, because you've got a pretty good life now. I mean, I know you're going to share your story about moving to Ireland, and that's the real true test of, is this really a business? Can I make it work more or less without me? Why did you decide to do the trip to Ireland, and talk to everybody about how that was the ultimate test for you and your business?
Sure. Yeah. So just touching on what we were saying, just one last thought is, I say I'd say this openly to anyone who will listen, the 3 biggest days or happiest days in my real estate career up to this point was, one, when I got my license in 2004 and I started down this path. That was great. The second one was when I met you and saw a different way of doing business and had an out, like you said, to get my life back. That cannot be understated, because what that allowed me to do was number 3, which was refuse business, right? And you don't really have a business if you're just working with everyone and anyone and at all times on call. That's how I was doing it the first 7 years. Just anyone who had any interest possibly in doing anything, I was there. I was like, okay, I got to help them. I sacrificed, like you said, sports events with my kids, dance recitals, whatever was going on. It was just like, no, I just gotta help these people out. So, if you're not in that part of your real estate career yet where you can refuse business, I would highly encourage you kind of make a plan and figure out how you can do that, because it's freeing. It's really freeing. And that's
And when Mike's referring to refusing business, what he's talking about is having such an overflow of business that you can pick and choose. So he wasn't
yes.
like refusing all business. He was refusing anybody that was like a B or C or D lead, or people that are skeptical or going to lie to you or going to fight you. He didn't need to work with those people anymore. And I think we'd all agree some buyers are way better than others, and some sellers are way better than others. So that impacts your business. It impacts the way you feel. Number one, if you're working with clients that are not a good fit, they're horrible to work with. It not only has a negative impact on your income, but it's got a negative impact on your attitude and your mood.
Oh
And
yeah.
and so yeah, that was not only were you making more money, it was what you no longer had to do to make that money.
Yeah, exactly. It's just my mental space was much better. Like you said, I wasn't so negative and frustrated and mad about clients. I was happy to work with these people because I was able to choose the people I wanted to work with and who valued my service, right? That was a big difference, is they saw the value. I was able to demonstrate the value to them, which you helped with, clearly organizing that and showing them how I'm different. So flash forward a couple more years after that, and I was in, it was 2018. My wife and I had talked about, we had 4 kids at the time. We had talked about living abroad for many years. My oldest son was in 5th grade, and we said, okay, well, we better do this before middle school, high school, sports, get really involved in all that stuff. How about we move to Sligo, Ireland? I have Irish roots. My grandparents were both from Ireland on my mom's side. My last name's Hungarian, but my other side is like pretty much 100% Irish. And so I just want to give our kids a different perspective on life. We were living in Southern California at that time,
Mhm.
which is kind of a bubble, and kind of one collective mindset or perspective. It's not super worldly, and I wanted them to see what the big wide world was all about. And I also wanted to, like you said, stress test my business. Do I have a business or do I have a job? And I really wanted to have a real estate business that I could create a legacy for my kids. Maybe they'll take over someday, maybe not. It's up to them. But again, I wanted to see where we were in my business at that time. Now, think back to 2018, right? We're doing Zoom right now. This is like 2024. Zoom is, everyone knows Zoom, right? Even my grandma can jump on there. But at that time, Zoom wasn't really a thing. So I was running my business from a VoIP phone, so just voice over IP phone, Slack, and emails basically. So I couldn't go on buyer appointments, I couldn't go on seller appointments, I couldn't even do one-on-ones with my agents, and it really stress tested my business. But the great thing is, it not only survived, it thrived. And I was like, okay, I got this. I do have a business. I have a valid business. I came back, jumped back in, and things were rolling. And that really set me up for the next thing that you were talking about, was opening up a second location in Nashville, Tennessee, which is where I'm sitting today.
All right. So everyone watching this, what do you think of that? Of being able to transform your job as a real estate agent into a business where you've got some agents that are partnering up with you, and eventually you train them to do most of or all of the work. Obviously, when Mike was in Ireland, he couldn't be involved in actually doing any of it, but he could oversee it. And that's the same thing that happened to me. After I had my business built up, I was able to move to Florida, live on an island. My kids went to school there. We did that for 3 years, while my business up north continued to do 400 or 500 transactions. Now, I was not a broker owner, never owned my own brokerage. I was just an agent working in the Remax office. So what really attracted me to this idea of being able to slowly replace myself with other people is the idea of how many homes could I sell if it had nothing to do with me? right? That was sort of what drove me. It's like, okay, I know how to sell a lot of houses working 80 hours a week. I knew how to do that. But slowly over the years, I was able to attract and train. And it's very difficult for most real estate agents to delegate because, we're control freaks and no one's going to do it like us. And what I learned is we actually can get people that will do it better than us. And so if you're watching this right now and you're thinking, does it get any better? Or am I going to have to to be successful? Do I have to keep trading my time for money? Well, that's exactly what Mike and I thought when we first got into the business, right? That's the paradigm. That's how we were raised, which is you want to make more money, you got to work harder.
Yep.
And so Mike, both you and I did that when we got in the business. How did we make more? Well, you work 50 hours a week instead of 40. How do you do better than that? You work 60 hours a week instead of 50. But at some point, you can't give any more, nor do you want to, especially when you get married and you have kids and you have other things you want to do. This is why 80% of real estate agents don't make it to their 5th anniversary, because they can do the sprint and they can work hard, but they burn out on it. Plus, you determine in real estate, there's some parts of this business that you really like and you're good at. There's other parts that you don't like. It's funny, the things we don't like are also the things we're not very good at. So, we just started delegating the things that didn't require us. They weren't, quote, rainmaker activities. Like, we didn't need to be doing the administrative stuff or getting the keys cut or taking a picture, installing the key box, banging in the sign. So those were the first things to delegate. And then Mike, you talked about this overflow of business. You were able to cherry pick the best buyers and sellers, and then give the overflow appointments to the agents that partnered up with you, which is still pretty good if you're an agent and somebody's setting up actual listing appointments or buyer appointments. That's a pretty sweet deal. So we're not talking about Mike giving his team members just leads. He's actually setting up listing appointments and buyer appointments. And then spending time, now you've got the time to train them and teach them everything you know about how to do a great listing presentation, do a great buyer presentation. And, so the ability to live on a different continent while your business is still going. And then now you've got an office in Nashville, Tennessee. You've got your original office in Ventura County, California. Theoretically, you could just keep expanding this and you build it in as many places as you'd like to do it. We were talking before we got started here about last year was a tough year, and it forced you to look at, your expenses and what you were doing. And you said it was kind of a blessing in disguise. And we started talking about the things that are working best for you right here in 2024. So where do you want to start? Do you want to start with the things that you learned last year being a tougher year?
Sure.
And then we'll transition into what's working best.
Sure. Yeah, so I will acknowledge that 2023 was a tough year. I've been in business for 20 years, and that
Mm-hmm.
that was a hard year. It was a transition, obviously, with interest rates doubling on us here in America. I think they follow the same pattern up in Canada. It was tough. Buyers just stopped. Sellers were unrealistic. They thought the party was still happening. It clearly was not. Craig, you know this about me. I've played sports my whole life. I played lacrosse for about 30 years. I played hockey for about 10. I've always played offense. I've always been a forward or attackman in hockey, right? So I'm just always offensive minded, which is part of your business. So I'm always just like, make more, just do more deals. If you're having trouble with your cash flow, just do more deals, sell more houses, work with more people, right? But 2023 was a good reminder and a blessing. Like you said, my middle son, as you know, also is huge into hockey. He's a first-year bantam. He's going out there crushing kids. He actually got the most hits for the tournament this weekend in the entire out of all 6 teams that were involved. He's very proud of that. He plays defense. So over the last couple of years, I've really started to appreciate defense, right? When you go to a game, you cheer when someone scores, but the defense is just as important. And 2023 was a lesson of, hey, knucklehead, basically to me. I got the message. Play defense, concentrate on defense. We were making money. We were just spending it poorly. We
Right.
were investing in things that weren't working. I was too slow to cut things that were no longer profitable and weren't making sense anymore. As the market shifted, my spending habits for the business didn't shift fast enough, right? And that squeezed me financially. It was tough, right? I had some sleepless nights and stuff like that. But
That's a great analogy. I've never thought of it that way, but yeah, start focusing on defense, and the money was coming in, but you were spending it, a
it
lot
was
of it,
not,
on
yeah.
things that, yeah, okay.
We weren't keeping enough to reinvest in the things that were working, right? You wouldn't have all five skaters just crash the net every single time. You wouldn't win many games playing hockey that way. So, there's an important balance between offense and defense. So if you were squeezed last year, I challenge everyone who's on here listening right now, like, go back and look at where the money that you did make, where was that reinvested? How was that spent? Was it spent wisely? Did you reinvest in things that worked? Right? And took away things that didn't work. Okay. I mean, it's obvious when you watch a sports game, if something's not working, you're not going to, the team's not going to just keep doing that, right? It's like, it's not working. We got to adapt. But it's funny, in business or just running our professional careers, we kind of forget about that. And we just keep, maybe we're, stubborn or whatever. We just keep trying the same thing again and again and again, and realize maybe sometimes too late, because there have been businesses that closed last year that, oh, I didn't adapt. I didn't adapt quick enough. So I would challenge everyone to go back and look at that. And something that I've learned from you, Craig, is you got to be able to track that stuff, right? You got to be able to track where your leads are coming from. You got to be able to track where your closings are coming from. Otherwise, you're flying blind and you don't know. You have
In
no
fact,
idea.
I would never recommend that any real estate agent do anything that's not trackable. So in Craig Proctor world, we'd never suggest that you do any kind of marketing, do anything where you can't track the return on investment. And I think there probably are some realtors watching this that are guilty of sticking with a plan that's not working.
Mm-hmm.
It's obvious when, we look at it and we say, well, that doesn't make sense. But um, people have a tendency to stick with thoughts and ideas, and they become sort of married to those ideas, especially the longer they do it. And if anything, the last couple of years has taught us is you have to be willing to adapt and look at everything and try to learn from other people, which is our goal here today. And Mike is saying, hey, I made some mistakes last year. Here's how I've adapted and I've learned. And Mike's been, an unbelievable Craig Proctor student and member for a long, long time. And we're all still learning today. Let's talk about some of the things that are really working well for you here in 2024.
Sure. So a great way to jumpstart your business and get closings now, okay, and this might be a little controversial with everything going on, is focus on buyers, right? So when I started my business in Nashville, okay, so I lived in Ventura County, California, in Ventura, right? Was moving to Nashville, Tennessee. I didn't know anyone. I didn't have a built-in network. I didn't have a bunch of people I could just like call up and start selling houses to, listing houses, anything like that. But since I had a system and a business in California, I was like, I'm going to duplicate that. Okay, so what's the fastest way for us to get business when we say, boom, let's start the business in Tennessee? It was focusing on buyers, right? Typically, over the 20 years, I've found that buyers are cheaper and easier to find, right, with your
Mm-hmm.
ads, and they're typically closer in the cycle. So you can find buyers who are ready to buy something this weekend.
Right.
Sellers typically are not ready to list their house this weekend, right? So there's a little bit longer of a sales cycle. Now we're going to focus on sellers also, and we're going to come back to that topic here a little bit later, but let's focus on buyers for a minute. So we started running ads to attract buyers. And what I did is what I'd learned through the Craig Proctor system is I ran Hotlist ads. So a hot list of homes. But first, a very important thing that I'm going to challenge again everyone on this podcast to really determine, who do you want to work with, right? This goes back to what we said about cherry picking the people, the best people. Don't try to attract just anyone. I would highly recommend you do not do that. I would recommend that you say, who do I like working with? Who gives me energy? Who do I really enjoy and I'm passionate about helping? And attract those people and run ads specifically targeting them. Don't try to be everything to everyone out there and just attract any old buyer that'll come along, because that's the way where we were talking about you get burnout. You're right. You're going to get a bunch of people you don't really want to work with, but you have to work with. And that's a tough spot. So first, clearly define who you want to work with and who you would enjoy helping.
You know, I would think that most real estate agents don't understand they've really got the power to call out to the very types of prospects they'd most want to work with. And the reason I say that is, Mike, when we've had these conversations with newer agents who are not, involved with Craig Proctor, and we ask them that question, we say, well, who would you really like to work with? They kind of look at us and say, well, anybody that wants to buy or sell a house. They don't actually
Yep.
believe that they get to choose. They don't understand how they would be able to go into the marketplace with a very defined message and call out to the types of buyers and sellers that they most want to work with. So that is a good first step. Who is it that would be most profitable for you? Okay. Do you want to work with first-time buyers, move-up buyers, luxury home buyers? Maybe you don't want to work with buyers at all. You want to work with sellers. And that breaks out. We've got different geographical areas, different price ranges. So give us some examples of
Sure.
how you would use advertising to call out to a certain segment of the audience, and maybe even explain why you would want to attract that segment, like why this type of prospect over all the rest of the prospects, and how would you go in and do that?
Sure. So by setting up Hotlist ads, so my ideal client is a buyer with a house to sell, right? So we can come back to that in a second. But out in Nashville, there's a lot of new construction happening. In California, not as much. There's some, but not as much. So out here in Nashville, I love working with new construction buyers, right? So you can advertise hot list of new construction homes under a certain price point in a certain area that you want to serve. So I could say Nashville brand new homes under 500,000, free list, right? Free hot list. Now, okay, I know some people skeptical on there going, well, people can just find that. Not really. New construction homes aren't always in the MLS. Oftentimes they're not. It's not super easy to track down all the new construction happening in your area as the consumer. Now, as a real estate professional, I should be able to track all that stuff down and be able to provide that. But as a consumer, it's not super easy. If I jump on Zillow, Redfin, not all the new construction homes are on there, right? Another thing I'm hearing from buyers is, they're confusing. All those sites are not the same. They're not showing the same information. Right now, we could pull up probably any address, and if we looked at Realtor, Zillow, Redfin, a bunch of other major sites out there, there would be different prices potentially and different statuses for that exact same house. And I show buyers this again and again. Buyers are kind of getting sick of having to sift and sort all the information themselves. And I'm seeing a trend of people kind of coming back to, hey, you know what? I want a professional to do this for me, right? And that is something we're seeing happening quite a bit. So I know there's probably skeptics out there going, well, they can just find all this information on their own. No, they can't. They can't.
Well, if you were to offer, the five most popular floor plans from the top three builders in Nashville, it's not that, well, first of all, the prospect isn't really sure of who the top builders are, but you're making it easier, you're making it convenient for them to find this information. It's not, let's just say it's not something that the buyer can easily go online or Google and find that. So
Right.
that's sort of the test, is we want to offer something that's, if not impossible, at least difficult for the buyer to acquire that information on their own. And then we're making it really easy by sending it out to them. And by the way, the prospects that respond to our new construction ads are good prospects. They have good credit. They typically have a house to sell, and Mike's like all about that, right? Because we're going to get a listing.
Yep.
And here's something we've determined: about half of the buyers that respond to our new construction campaigns end up buying a resale home anyway.
Yep.
So, and then you're going to get their listing. So think of the new construction campaigns that we offer is just a great way. It's just something that buyers are interested in. And before somebody lists their house for sale, right, they're a buyer first. So when
Right.
real estate agents say, I only want listings, well, the way to get listings is you get the seller, the homeowner, to respond first as a buyer.
Correct.
Um,
Yeah,
so,
that's like we were talking about before. pay attention to market opportunities. Was I running new construction ads 2 years ago? No. New construction companies were offering flat fees, $1,000, $2,000. You couldn't be a contingent buyer, right? So they were kind of blocking the people that I wanted to work with, buyers who had a home to sell, right? Who wanted to buy one of those new constructions. They were making it no money on the buy side, and they were making it where I couldn't even really necessarily help them sell their home. But now that's changed. Now the new construction companies, the builders are like, hey, Mike, yeah, bring us buyers. They're like begging, hey, we'll give you 3%. We'll give you 4%. What's it going to take? 5%, 6%? Sell some of our homes. They need to sell a house. Great. We know that you're great at selling homes. We know that you'll get the job done quickly. You have all your guarantees and different things in place. No problem, right? So this is where we're talking about adapting to what's going on in the market and seeing market opportunities and really taking advantage of those, and then running ads again where market opportunities exist. So right now, new construction is something where market opportunities exist. So we're doing that.
Okay, a couple of gold nuggets I want everyone to make sure they picked up there. Mike just said the market's always adapting, it's always changing. And during the pandemic, when interest rates were zero and new home builders didn't need us, homes where they couldn't build them fast enough. And then as the interest rates rapidly went up, a lot of those new construction home buyers fell out of contract. Now these builders who wanted nothing to do with realtors needed us because they now had all this standing inventory. So they'll pay us, a premium. They'll offer upgrades. They'll even, some of them, many of them will offer a buy down on the interest rate. So it's literally the lowest interest rate you can get your buyer today is a new construction home. It's also, Mike, the easiest transaction we ever do because
yes. Yes.
Yeah. All I got to say is, hey, builder, this is Mike. Mike, this is the builder, and I'm out, right?
That's it. Yep.
Yeah.
It's another big part of it. How scalable is that? Can you sell 10, 20, 30, 50 of those homes? Absolutely. Absolutely.
So we teach you how to build this information package because some of the questions you guys are going to have is, okay, well, what information am I offering? Do I need to get the builder's permission? How do I know I'm going to get paid by the builder? These are all very good questions and things that we help you with so that you establish the relationship, you're getting paid, you're offering something truly of value to the buyer that the buyer can't easily get on their own. And again, many of these buyers that are interested in new construction, you end up selling them a resale home. But either way, whether they buy new construction or they buy resale, Mike gets what he wants is he's got a listing now. And then we leverage off that listing to get a whole bunch more listings.
Right, exactly. And like you said, most sellers have their buyer hat on first. So they're seeing what their options are. They're seeing what's out there. So you can attract them, okay? So new construction's one. If you want to work with first-time buyers, because that is very fulfilling, to be honest. I remember when I purchased my first home in 2004 and just the freedom I felt, the accomplishment I felt. My wife and I had just recently gotten married. It was like, it was a very emotional time, and it was exciting to think we're going to start raising a family here in this house. You can run first-time home buyer specials. You can attract those people if that's who you want to work with. And just again, the same thing is run a hot list of ads. So like first-time buyer specials under 300,000, under 400,000, right? Whatever the target is in your marketplace, and you can attract those people, and people do respond to those ads. So where can you put them? You can put them on Facebook. You can still put them on Craigslist. You still can get people that way. You can do Google pay-per-click. You can advertise them in a whole bunch of different places. But hot list ads still do work. Just pick. Another example is country club homes or golf course homes, also pool homes, view homes. There's a bunch of different things you can kind of change it. You could even change the style of home, one-story homes, single-story homes, whatever you want to, again, target the type of people you're looking for. Those are still very effective, and you can meet someone today, right? It's Tuesday, and you could be out showing them homes this weekend and get them under contract. So it can happen pretty quick and jumpstart your business.
Okay, a couple more gold nuggets there. So Mike is talking about, well, you test all these different target markets. So homes with pools, homes with mountain views, homes in the country club, under $1 million, whatever it is, you do that research and you ask yourself, number one, is there a demand for this thing? Okay, so you don't want to choose a target market Like if Mike says, oh, I want to choose this target market over there, and we did some research and there were like 0 homes selling, that would
Yes.
not be a good target market. So
Yes.
we use a MLS interface that all of our members get, and we can go into MLS and we can find the highest turnover streets and highest turnover zip codes and neighborhoods. And so we're using science and logic, and we're making good decisions. So 2 things: who does Mike want to attract? And that's based on, who he likes, who he'd like to work with, but also based on what's the highest demand areas, right? What would be the best, smartest price range and geographical area, et cetera, to target.
Yeah.
And the other gold nugget is, if you do what Mike's talking about, you run the ad today, you can run it for $0 on Facebook Marketplace, or you can run a paid ad, a paid Facebook ad, not going to break the bank account, $5 or $10 a day. But what Mike said is you could run the ad today and literally be out with the buyer tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And everything's tracked. So when Mike said, I could test this ad or that ad or this ad, that's exactly what he does. He doesn't just run one ad. He'll test 7 or 8 or 10 ads, and the marketplace will tell Mike in a couple of days, okay, these are the ads that produce the best quality leads. These are the ones we're going to ramp up, and the other ones we're going to eliminate. Okay, we have a question from James Perry, I believe is the name. He's asking, how do I find lists of new construction so I can advertise them? So where would I get these lists of properties?
Yeah, sure. So it's going to take some digging, right? So you're going to basically be the conduit of getting all the information you can find on Google. Like we've created a database basically of that, and we've put it on a map. But you're going to have to do that. Drive around is another great way to do it, right? Sometimes builders don't even have the greatest presence, but if you want to be the area expert, you want to be a true professional selling homes, you got to put in some work. So I would start with Google, see what you can find on that. All the builders are going to be competing with each other, right? So they're going to try to be up there, in the Google search results. But then drive around, stop by the sales office, say, hey, what do you have available? Who's your contact information? How often do you release the new phases? How often do you tell me what inventory you have? I'm happy to help sell your homes. And it takes some legwork. So it took us several weeks, months to put that all together. It takes maintenance, right? Because they're constantly changing what they're doing, what incentives, like Craig was talking about, they're willing to offer, what floor plans are still available, what homes have already sold, what homes fall out. That's always a good thing too, because sometimes the downside of new construction, and what Craig was saying before, sometimes people buy resale, is because they can't wait, right? I can't wait until October to get a house, Craig. But if I know about homes that fell out and you can close next month, and it's a brand new home that no one's ever lived in, that makes me super valuable. That is very hard information to find from a buyer's perspective. I'm just
That's right. You're a very valuable asset to the buyer at this point. And you mentioned doing a little bit of work. Well, that's why this is a great offer, because if the answer to the question was, well, how do I find these new construction homes? If it was easy, you could just Google them. Well, then the buyer wouldn't need you, right? Because the buyer has Google as well. They could just Google new construction homes and it would come up. So, I'd recommend drive around town. We have a website, by the way, that tells you where all the builders are. But you drive around, you go in and say, first of all, are you going to pay me? If I saw what you've got, are you going to pay me? Because I don't really care what your most popular models are. You're not going to compensate me. So that's the first question. If I bring a buyer, how do you compensate me? How do I register them? Do I have to bring them physically over the threshold, or can I just email you my buyer's information? You want to do the latter, obviously. And you ask for the sales manager, not the sales people in the office, but the sales manager, preferably the builder.
Yeah.
Right. Because the salespeople might not even want your competition. They want to keep all the commission themselves. But you talk to the sales manager and you say, hey, if I bring a buyer, will you compensate me? Great. What are your 5 most popular models? Can I have the floor plans? What lots are available? Give me the lot plans. As much information as you can gather. So when a buyer contacts you, you can send them all this information from the different builders. It will be overwhelming because there's all these different builders and so that's why they need you. We want them to understand there's lots of choices. There's lots to know about this. Now, we can do this approach, or we can do what every other agent does, which is, this is what the average agent says to a buyer. Hey, Mike, if you work with me, first of all, I've been in town here for 17 years. I really work hard. I'm a great negotiator. And I would, if you work with me, I'll email you all the houses that are on the internet. Not a lot of value there, right?
Right.
Because Mike's like, well, I have the internet. I'd rather just, and I think we agree, most buyers, most people in general would rather do as much research as they can before they deal with the salesperson.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, the analogy I use is, if you're looking to buy a car, where are you gonna call the dealership and talk to a salesperson? Not in the beginning.
Mm-mm.
Many of us don't want to do that at all. You're going to do research, right? By the time, Mike, you get into the dealership, you know more about the car probably than the salesperson. You know
Yeah.
all the colors it comes in, right? And we're always questioning, when we walk into a car dealership, okay, Mike knows what he's looking for, but is the salesperson going to try to sell you just what they have in inventory? Or are they going to push you to what makes them the most amount of money? Are they not going to tell you about other vehicles they could get from another dealership that would actually be better for you, but they make less money? So buyers have all these doubts about car salespeople, maybe even travel agents, right? It's like a lot of people like, I'll just book my own flight. It's the same reluctance with real estate salespeople. So the first step that all buyers take is they go online. And that's why we teach you've got to have a good online presence. People can't call you if they don't know who you are or what you do. And if you're not making any offers that cause them to be interested enough to raise their hand. But yeah, we coach you up on how do I find the best builders? How do I set these relations up? How do I have valuable information that I can send out to the buyers? Here's another question. Well, gee, Mike and Craig, if I offer information on new construction to the buyer, wouldn't the buyer just take my information and go around me and go directly to the builder? No, we show you how to protect yourself so that doesn't happen. So yeah, there's steps to this, but that's why we do coaching. Mike, how many years have you been involved with Craig Proctor coaching?
Yeah, since 2011. So it's going on 13 years. So this October will be 13 years. Yeah.
13 years. And you might be thinking, well, why would Mike still be with Craig for 13 years? Mike answered it a few minutes ago, because things are always changing.
Yeah.
Literally what we're talking about next year will not be the same thing that we're talking about right now. Okay, well, the principles remain the same with direct response marketing. The messages, like new construction is a perfect example. During the pandemic, builders wanted nothing to do with us. It was not a good opportunity at all. And now it's a great opportunity. So this is why you want to have a coach that knows what's happening in the marketplace, that actually has sold 10,000 homes, versus a lot of these guys that have not actually been involved in being successful with leveraging their business and making a lot of money and helping other people make a lot of money. Okay, we have another question here.
Thank you. Thank you, Craig, for just saying I wasn't a slow learner. That's why I'm still.
Well, yeah. Well, I think you're obviously a very smart learner.
It's constantly, you're right. It's constantly adapting. And as you're pulling up the question, you said a gold nugget that I want to make sure that everyone really paid attention to. It kind of circles back to what we said before about cherry picking the best people to work with. I'm not trying to sell every new construction home in Nashville. I'll just be very clear about that, right? Like, I'm going to have conversations with the developers, with the builders. Are you willing to work with me or not? And if they're not, some are still feisty and like, we don't need you. It's like, great, I will not go sell your homes. But a lot of them now are like, oh, Mike, yes, please sell my homes, right? And speaking from the salespeople's standpoint, they have quotas. They have numbers they have to hit, Craig. And they're like, Mike, please. They're calling me, they're texting me. Who can you bring by this week? Who can you show the home to? They get a little bit more if they represent the buyer, bring the buyer, and there's no, but it's not a ton. And the bigger thing is they've got quotas, and if they don't sell the number of homes per month, they lose their job. So they're more focused on that right now, and they're more than happy to work with me. And they're telling me constantly what's going on with their inventory, what homes they have to still sell. So those are the people I'm going to work with. And you know what they'll let you do? And this is another great thing. Sorry, just before we get to that question, is hold an open house. So Craig talks about doing a Sunday tour of homes. Okay, so a Sunday tour of homes, and I'll let you explain that, Craig. It's a totally different approach to doing open houses, because the traditional open house is terrible, right? I definitely have done enough of those to know that those do not work. But Craig has taught me to do the Sunday tour of homes. You can use, some builders will let you use their inventory. And you can have, how easy is that for me to walk from one house to the next, to the next, to the next, in the same neighborhood, maybe within the same block, right? It's super easy. And I can get those people, and they're more than happy to let me take those buyers. Obviously, they want me to hopefully sell them one of their homes, but they know some of them aren't, right? They just don't want me to actively be repelling them from their homes, which I would never do. And that's a great way where you can meet people too. If you find a builder who will do that, and there's some in the Nashville area who are letting us hold open houses on their inventory every single weekend that we want to.
Yeah, it's a great way to leverage off of someone else's listings, right? Because a lot of you are like, well, I don't have any listings. I can't do that. No, we show
Right.
you how to, we show, if you just got your license yesterday, we show you things that you can do. A lot of, remember, a lot of how we think and what we believe is possible, and really just what you do every day is dictated by what they told you to do, what you see the other agents doing. You look around at what everyone else is doing and you think, okay, this is how we do it. The problem is most agents are failing. And if you're copying what most people are doing, you're going to struggle, or actually, leave the business. So learn from people that are doing more than you are. Okay. What we're doing is easier than what you're doing. Okay. It is easier to sell 500 homes a year than it is to sell 50 homes a year when you understand how to leverage yourself and have systems and people and technology doing the heavy lifting. Okay. The next question is from Raymond. What is the best way to attract leads on social media? So, Mike, what kind of things do you do on social media to attract great leads?
Sure. So I want to start this with kind of a thought provoking thing for everyone listening right now. So we're talking about building a business, and obviously I stress test my business by leaving Ireland and all that stuff. And I get that that's like, most people listening are like, yeah, I'm never going to do that stuff. Like, that's neat to hear that you can do that, but I'm not going to do it. Right. And some people listening are like, I don't even want a team. I don't want to deal with people. I don't want to manage people. I don't want to do any of that stuff. It's like, okay, you can still be a business owner, even if it's just you. Right. But you got to think differently. You got to think like a business owner. So some of the things we've talked about is, who are you wanting to work with, right? So that's one thing. That's what a business owner thinks about, right? What any business thinks about, who my ideal customers are, okay? So even if you want to be your own person, just think, who do I want to work with? The second thing we talked about with Craig was, what market opportunities exist? Do a little research, right? He has access to, and I do through him, certain great websites that compile all this market data, but most agents just like, I'm going to farm this neighborhood because I live here. I'm just going to try to sell homes right here because it's convenient and easy. It's like, does a market opportunity exist there? Right. So example of that, extreme example, I moved when I was still living in California. I lived in a historic district. There was only 200 homes that were designated historic homes, like 2 sold a year. One of my neighbors was the area expert. She gave me candy for Halloween. She gave me a pumpkin for Thanksgiving. She gave me a candy cane for Christmas. Everyone knew her. I even would joke and say, I'm going to use her to sell my house when I'm going to move because I get so much stuff from her. She was chasing 2 homes a year selling. She lived in the neighborhood. She knew all the ins and outs of the historic district and stuff like that. And it's like, that's not a very big market opportunity. Okay. Then when things shifted in 2008, 2009, 2010, and now all those home sales were dominated by REOs, she went out of business because there wasn't a big enough market opportunity in the pond she was fishing in, right? Had she expanded that by maybe 6 to 10 blocks on either side and included some other neighborhoods, there was enough turnover, right? So then the third part to this of running a business and thinking like a business owner is, what do people want? And this is getting to your question. So it's saying, okay, what ads do I run on social media? You got to think like a business owner. What does a buyer want? Give them what they want. What does a seller want? Advertise what they want. But what we see too often in the real estate industry, and Craig destroyed my paradigm on that, is image advertising. People put me, I put my kids, I put me fishing, I put me with my dog, I put me, people don't care about that. What does a buyer want? Homes. They want the best access to homes that they can get. So advertise that, and advertise good homes. Advertise homes people want, not just the homes you have. Because we all know.
That's a biggie right there.
Yeah.
Did everyone get that nugget? Advertise homes that people want, not just what you have in inventory. Mike, when you and I got our license, and this is for everyone watching this,
Yeah.
this is what they told us. They said, Mike and Craig, you're real estate agents. Welcome to the real estate industry. And pretty much they told us to advertise two things. Number one, they said, Mike and Craig, advertise yourself. So we all get caught up in that, right? I'm going to work hard. I really want your business. You can trust me. I have lots of integrity. I've lived in this town for 17 years. And we know that awareness or image type advertising doesn't work. And I'll prove it to all of you. How many of you have done that kind of advertising? So everybody knows you. How many of you have had a friend or family member list your buy with another agent? They knew who you were, right? They knew who you were. So obviously just getting people to know who you are isn't the game, right? Because you already know a lot of people that didn't use you. Some of these people you knew quite well. So on top of people knowing who you are, there has to be a benefit attached to your identity. So people in Mike's marketplace, okay, in Nashville and in Ventura County know Mike's a real estate agent, but attached to his identity are very unique advantages. So the prospects understand not only who Mike is, but what makes him different and better than the other agents. And this is truly what we coach you up on. Now, back to the two things they told us to advertise. All of you, advertise yourself. We just talked about why that doesn't work. What's the other thing they tell us to do? Advertise your listings. Now, this is what I realized very early in the game. So I get a listing. It's a 2-bedroom home on a corner lot with an in-ground pool. And the calls that come in, the ad calls and sign calls, immediately, I'm trying to do a good job, explain about this listing I have, all the benefits of living here. But the home is immediately eliminated because a 2-bedroom home is too small. Some people don't want to live in a corner lot, and some people don't want an in-ground swimming pool. So I'm advertising what I have. Now, hear me on this. What Mike's talking about is advertising what people want. Instead of advertising what you have, you should be advertising what it is that buyers want. Does everybody get that distinction? So you might not have in your personal inventory what it is that buyers want, but I didn't know that. So I spent all my time and my energy trying to sell this 2-bedroom home that nobody wanted, when I could have taken that time and that resources and just searched through the marketplace and said, well, this is not what people want at all. Over in this neighborhood, Glenaway Estates, these golf course homes, they're in high demand. I'm going to offer a list of those, even though I don't personally have any. Now, if you feel you need to have permission, or you can borrow a listing from another agent in your office if you feel compelled to do that, right? Because we have we're not allowed to do that. It has to be one of our listings. No, if you have permission from another agent in your office to advertise it, you can advertise it. So start focusing on, what should I be advertising that makes sense, that's going to attract me the most amount of buyers, versus don't be handicapped by what you have. Okay. Don't feel like, well, I'm limited to what I have. And for a lot of you have no listings, right? So that's another, well, how do I do this? I don't have any listings. I don't have anything I can advertise. You're almost better not to have any listings, because then you're going to do what we're talking about here. You're going to say, okay, well, I don't have any listings, or I got these crummy listings. Let's forget about what I have. That's the problem. Maybe what you have is the problem. What you want are buyers. Okay, so the opportunity is offering what the buyers want to get them to call you. Now, these buyers, many of them are going to have a house to sell. And this is why, if you want listings, what Mike and I are saying is the gateway to getting the listing is to get the person that owns the home to respond first as a buyer, rather than saying, do you want a CMA? Rather than saying, do you want to know what your house is worth? They can find out what their house is worth by doing a Google search. They can find out all the homes that are sold in the area. So the easiest way to get listings is to get the homeowner who hasn't yet listed their home to respond as a buyer. Why? Because that's the natural thing that people do. How many of you have home sellers now that want to move, but they will not list their house until you can find them another property? You could literally bring them an offer for 10% more than their home is worth. They wouldn't take it because they need to know where they're going to go first.
Yeah, well, I'm guilty of that. When I moved my family from Ventura to Nashville. There was no chance of me doing anything selling my house until I figured out what we were doing, where we were moving to, right? I was 100% buyer mode before I ever even thought about selling my house. So that's what most people who are thinking about making a move are going to do. They're going to put their buyer hat on first. Now, the great thing about that, Craig, is if you demonstrate value, you do a good job, you build rapport, you do everything you say you're going to do, helping them on the buyer side, you're getting the listing. There's no competition. Where you were saying if you're running home evaluation ads and all these other things, well, great, you got 7 other people interviewing and you're like in the grind. And then what most people default to is just promise the highest price, the lowest commission, and you're stuck in that thing. Where if you demonstrate your value, do a good job on the buyer side, then you can almost set your own fees. You have no competition. They trust you. They're just like, sure, Mike, whatever we got to do to get the house sold. You did an awesome job finding us our perfect home. Let's just get the home sold, right? So that's a huge advantage to that.
So when the buyers call you, so we've been talking about running these ads, and so, prospects respond, and when you're talking to them, this is what it needs to sound like. Okay. So first of all, let's do old school. This is old school, what realtors would say to a buyer. Hey, buyer, if you work with me, I'll email you all the houses that match what you're looking for. I'll email you all the homes from all the different companies. These are all the homes on MLS. The buyer knows I can do the search myself. I don't need you. You might even say to the buyer, yeah, but if you work with me, I'm a really good negotiator. How many of you say I'm a really good negotiator? If you work with me, I'm going to get you a great deal. And the buyer today says, well, now that I can go online and I can get access to all the information that you would send me anyway, it's all on the internet. I also know who the house is listed with. And I know you say you're a good negotiator, but I think the buyer says, I think I might be able to negotiate better by just going directly to the listing agent and completely going around you. So what do you say to that? What do you say when the buyers, and most of the time the buyers, they don't actually say that. They just say, no, thank you. I'm good. I'm not interested. But this is what buyers are thinking, right? They know that if all you're doing is emailing them the daily updates from the MLS, it's something they can do themselves. There's many websites, and some of the public websites give them actually more information that you would offer them as a buyer. They're better. Okay, I'm a great negotiator. Nope, I'll just go to the listing agent. I'm good. How about this offer instead? Here's your new offer. Instead of just saying, I'm going to get you access to all the homes on the internet, you're going to say this. Hey, Mike, I can get you access to all the homes on MLS from all the different companies. I can get you priority access to that. But I can also get you access to unlisted and off-market homes that are not available to the open public. Would you like to get information on those as well? Now, what are your comments on that, folks? I can also get you access to new construction homes and the 5 most popular models from the 3 top builders here in Nashville. I also can get you information to distress sales and bank foreclosures. Now, I know what many of you are saying is, well, how would I do that? Well, we know how to do it. So just assume that, yes, we know what we're talking about. The question is would that be better for you to offer that to buyers? Would buyers sit up and pay attention rather than just kind of blow you off and say, yeah, I'm good, I'm not interested, or I didn't respond to that, someone was playing with my phone? The key today is getting the prospects to call you, right? Because you can't reach them on the phone. How many of you have found that? It's extremely difficult to get, if you're buying leads from Zillow or whatever, first of all, they're not even real leads. It's scraped information. You have to call 100 Zillow leads to get 4 or 5 people to answer the phone, and then they blow you off. Like, you don't even know what you're talking about, right? Would it be better if you did what we're suggesting here, and you could get buyers calling you, and when the buyer calls you, you have something better to say. You have a better offer. And believe me, once you have an offer they want, now they're interested in meeting with you. What you're saying to them, if what you're offering them sounds pretty much to the buyer like, well, that's just stuff I can do myself, or that's the same thing that's being offered by all the other agents, then you got a problem. So you got to have the right offer in the marketing, right? The ad has to be calling out, as Mike has said, that piece of the market that is active and people you want to work with. Those 2 things. You can't have one without the other. Like if it was an active area, an active neighborhood or price range in Nashville, but Mike hated working with those type of clients. He wouldn't do that. He's looking for that sweet spot. Like, where is the money to be made here in Nashville? What price range? What type of home? New construction, resale? And it's going to attract what I want, which, as Mike said, it's somebody that's buying a home that has a house to sell. They're a move-up buyer. Okay, so what is that answer for you? What is your ideal target market? And we help you with that. If you guys are interested in knowing more about this, you can book a call with my team. If someone could type into the comments below, proctorcall.com, so my name, proctorcall.com, we would walk you through this process. Because if you've been paying attention, these are the questions you're going to have. First of all, is this real? We got lots of proof. There's Mike Szakos is all over the United States and Canada, Craig Proctor members for 10, 15, 20 years that are doing what we're talking about today. So does this work? And then more importantly, how would this work for you? Right? How would you determine in your marketplace what the best opportunities are? Great. Now you know who you want to attract, what the best opportunities are. Now, what do the ads need to say? What's the offer need to say to get the buyer and seller prospects to call you? Well, you can still blow it if they call you and you don't know what to say, right? So we teach you how to qualify them, right? How to determine their motivation and timing, and how to offer something they truly want so badly that they're willing to do the thing they really don't want to do, which is to meet with a real estate salesperson. That's how good your offer, the words that come out of your mouth need to be. And if you do this, you start to get these results like Mike's getting, where you got an overflow business. So proctorcall.com, it's free. By the way, what's the catch? Is it some big sales pitch? Nope. I didn't sell you anything here today. This is just good information, right? And how many of you would agree that Mike and I did a good presentation here today? This is vital. Mike agrees. I agree.
I agree.
Now, notice that Mike and I, we didn't call you, did we? We didn't call you and say, yeah, it's Mike and Craig. We're doing this live on Facebook, and it's coming on YouTube. Do you guys want to join us? We didn't do that. Okay. Also, the presentation that we gave here today, it didn't require us being at your house, sitting at the kitchen table. And the reason I mention this is you guys can do exactly what Mike and I did here today. This cost me $0, and I gave you guys a really good presentation. So real estate agents all over the country get to know Craig, they get to know Mike. But you could use this strategy like Mike does to get everyone in Nashville and everyone in Ventura County to not only know who Mike is, Mike the realtor, but they know what he's about, who he is, what he's about, what he does, the services he offers, and people see him over and over again, and they understand what makes him different and better to the point where they actually call him. In other words, what we used to believe, because it was true before the pandemic, you had to kind of meet with the seller to tell him what you did, right? That was the name. We're going to buy all these leads from Zillow, call our brains out, hopefully get 4 or 5 of them. And then why are we calling the Zillow leads? Well, we're calling them because we want to try to convince some of these prospects to meet with us. Well, why are we meeting with them? So we can show them what we do, so hopefully they'll hire us. Today, the battle for the listing agent is being done online, not at the kitchen table. Right? What did we just say about if we're looking for a car, you do your research before you go to the car dealership? That's what's happening in real estate right now. Okay, old school was, well, I'm going to call 5 different agents and interview them at my kitchen table. They're not doing that. And the younger the prospect is, the more true this is. So how do you get these phone calls from buyers and sellers saying, come and get me? By telling them what you do online. So here's a test. Google Mike. When we're done here today, you go ahead and you Google Mike and then Google yourself. And you're going to see the difference, right? Can prospects in your marketplace, when they're looking for real estate, do they see you? Do you show up? And not only do you show up, it can't be, hey, I'm Mike, the real estate agent. I've been doing this for a long time and I really care about your business. It's got to be something important. You've got to have a really good offer. Now, once they start to watch your stuff, we can pixel them. Like all of you today have been pixeled. So you might already know that because you've watched some of my prior stuff, and now you're like, oh my God, I see Craig Proctor everywhere. And if today's your first day, you can look forward to that. You're going to see me everywhere in social media. So there's a strategy. This is very important for your buyers. They don't want to, you don't want them to see you once and forget about you. You want to be able to retarget them so they're seeing you over and over again with your different messages. What are we trying to accomplish today? So here's what I tried to accomplish today is I want to show off Mike's success. He's a smart guy. He's been with me since 2011, and he makes a lot of money, and he can operate anywhere in the country. He can sell as many homes as he wants. Okay, I wanted you to meet him. He's social proof that the Craig Proctor system works. I wanted you to see my style here today. Hopefully, some of you will think, you know what? It appears that Craig knows what he's doing. I'm going to check this out. I'm going to go to proctorcall.com, and I'm going to go on to Craig's Acuity Daytimer, and I'm going to book a time, and I'm going to have a conversation with Craig's team about, here's where I am. This is where I operate, how many years I've been doing it. We'll ask you, how do you approach your business? What kind of things are you doing? Why do you do it that way? Right? And, you're going to say, well, I do it this way, and this is the results I get. And understand how you think about real estate determines what you're going to do, right? Your thoughts control what you're going to do, and what you do controls the results you get. So if you're coming to me, it's obviously because you're saying, I want to get better results. Great. That means you can't keep doing what you're doing, right? If you keep doing what you're doing, nothing's going to change. Next year will be exactly the same. So book your free call, no obligation. Not going to try to make you do anything you want to do. We're just going to ask you a bunch of questions about what you do, and we'll show you a different approach. And then you can decide, do you think Craig Proctor could help me? Now, there's another thing that I want to talk about here today, which is if you're impressed with Mike, which you should be, and you're a realtor who works either in Ventura County, California, or you work in the greater Nashville, Tennessee area, you've got an amazing opportunity to partner up potentially with Mike. Now, here's how this would work. Well, you might say, well, why would I want to do that? He has so much business coming in. He actually would give you listing appointments and buyer appointments that he himself personally can't handle. Now, I know other companies are like, well, we're going to give you leads, or we're going to give you training. No, this is not leads. You can buy your own leads from Zillow. We talked about what's wrong with leads. These are actually vetted listing appointments and buyer appointments. Now, Mike would also be your coach. So I coached Mike, and now Mike would be your coach. Now, you might also say, well, every company, Keller Williams, every company says if I join up with them, they're going to provide me training. Okay, you're going to get a coach here, a coach that successfully is mastered the Craig Proctor system. And what's in it for Mike to spend a lot of time and effort to coach you up is the more money you make, the more money Mike makes. So this is a rainmaker activity for Mike, working on the strategy. That's what he does all day long, working on the marketing, and working on recruiting, hiring, and training his all-star team. So Mike, how would they get information or reach out to you if they're interested in just talking to you a little bit more about what we've discussed here today, or about potentially working closer with you?
Sure, no problem. So I have a pretty unique last name, so that's probably the easiest way to find me. So just write it down. It's Szakos. You can Google Mike Szakos or Team Szakos. Put in California or Tennessee, wherever you're interested in. That'll get you all our contact information. You can go to our Google profile, give us a call, and I'm happy to talk to you. Just say, hey, I just heard you on the Craig Proctor podcast. I'd like to know more about what you do, how you can potentially help me out. And I'm happy to take those phone calls, whether we join forces or not, just to kind of let you know more. I know we've only had an hour here, and I'm trying to talk about 13 years of life experience and experience with Craig. So I want people to be successful in real estate, whether that's with me or on their own. I really do. I'm very passionate about this industry. I love it. I think there's a better way to do it. I think we do bring a lot of value to the industry if we are true professionals. And I'm happy to have those conversations and see how I could help in any capacity. Of course, there's no cost or obligation or anything like that. I'm not going to pressure you or anything. And then as far as Craig, finding out, what he has to offer. I told you the 3 biggest days in my real estate career so far have been when I got my license in 2004, when I met Craig in 2011, because he changed forever the trajectory, not only of my business, but my life, my family, right? I am able to drop my kids off at school, pick them up when I want to, go to all of their events. I coach youth sports. We just started last night. It's about 15 hours a week that I'm putting into coaching youth sports because I'm super passionate about that. I'm right now coaching youth lacrosse. I'm able to do all that because of Craig and because of how Craig had got me to think about my business. Without him, I don't even know if I'd be in real estate, honestly, this long anymore. So, you're kind of at a crossroads. Like, what do you have to lose, right? You can either listen to this podcast, jump off, maybe listen to a couple others and go about your way. And then 3 years from now, 5 years from now, maybe you'll be in the same place. Maybe you'll be more successful. Maybe you'll figure it out, right? Or you could just take the time to talk to Craig and see what he could do to possibly get you to your dreams faster, right? It's like he said, it's completely free. There's no obligation. Just see what he has to offer because it has forever changed my life. And Craig, I am forever thankful for that. I do from the bottom of my heart. You have created not only an amazing business life for me, but an amazing personal life. And I could not have done that without you and your help. So thank you for that.
And I love to hear that. Obviously, this is exactly why I do what I do. Love to hear that. And I hope I can help some of you as well. So there is a reason why I've created more millionaire real estate agents than any other coach or trainer or guru out there. This is your opportunity to find out why and how it can help you. Go to proctorcall.com, book a day and a time if you can get one, because there's not many left. But check it out, proctorcall.com. Book off a half an hour. We do it by Zoom. And we'll answer all your questions about this and show you how this could work for you. So we're out of time. Mike, I want to thank you so much for doing this. We'll get you back again later this year and get an update on how business is going. And I want to thank everybody for watching this episode of the Craig Proctor Real Estate Show. We'll see everybody next time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Craig Proctor. Hey, I really hope you enjoyed that video. And listen, I've got a lot more information for you to help you grow your real estate business. You see, several times a week, I record new videos and I load them onto this YouTube channel. What I'd like you to do, if you'd like to access them, are 2 important things, and both are totally free. Number 1 is I'd like you to subscribe to this channel. You're gonna see a little subscribe button for you to click on. And if you don't already have an account with YouTube, it's free for you to set it up. It's really easy, it's free, but you've got to subscribe to this channel. And the most important thing is to ring the little bell right next to the subscribe button. And that's gonna let you know every time I load new money-making videos to help you grow your real estate business. So make sure you subscribe right now, you ring the little bell, and we'll see you on the next video.